Good morning, everyone. Let's hope the rest of the day goes better, right? I'd like to start with an Apache blessing. May the sun bring you energy by day. May the moon softly restore you by night. May the rain wash away your worries. May the breeze blow new strength into your being. May you walk gently with the world and know its beauty all the days of your life. Amen.
Amen.
My talk this morning is going to be a little bit long, so I'm kind of cutting everything else down. Join me in the invocation. Father, Mother God, we are so grateful to be living in a time with so much potential and so much of your love surrounding us. We're grateful for your constant and loving presence in our lives, and we ask now that our guides and angels and those of the highest vibration to join us. And we celebrate your presence by repeating the prayer the Master Jesus taught us.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Oh, good morning. And today, as we each deal with the turmoil we see the world in our own ways, I thought I'd like to change the focus a little bit and talk about some of the help that we can receive from the higher vibrations. We do on occasion talk about the Ascended Masters, and today I'd like to focus on one of them. Thought I'd start with Saint Germain, hence the purple. I'll probably talk about the other Ascended Masters in other weeks, but we're starting with Saint Germain because he has such a fascinating history. And according to the Saint Germain Foundation website, this is the definition of an Ascended Master. The Ascended Master is an individual who, by self-conscious effort, has generated enough love and power within himself to snap the chains of all human limitations, and so he stands ascended and free, and worthy to be trusted with the use of forces beyond those of human experience. He feels in himself the oneness of omnipresent God, or life. Hence, all forces and things obey his command, because he is a self-conscious being of free will, controlling all by the manipulation of the light within himself. I love that they always say him. It is through the radiation or outpouring of this light that it is really his own luminous essence of divine love that an Ascended Master is able to help those who come under his care and direction. The Ascended Masters have been the elder brothers, protectors, guardians, and infallible teachers of mankind throughout the centuries. They are the only infallible source of introduction to the humanity of this earth, because they are wholly divine and one with the God self of every individual. They are the living fulfillment of the law they teach, and are the only ones who have manifested complete victory over so-called death. They are the full manifestation of that light and love which rule the universe and which maintain divine order through infinity. The great Ascended Masters have worked for centuries preparing for the expansion of light that is now flooding the entire system to which this earth belongs. How do the Ascended Masters help mankind? The great Ascended Masters have worked for centuries preparing for the expansion of light that is now flooding the entire system. The cosmic command for the permanent golden age has been given and must now manifest on this planet. The great cosmic law has begun the release and increase of that light which compels all things to come into perfect divine order wherever it flows, and will continue to expand throughout this planet until all its humanity has made the ascension. Isn't that a wonderful thought? Let's put that out there. The assistance of the ascended masters must be given to the individual through the ray of his own life, which pours into the physical body from the mighty I Am presence. They enfold the individual's life stream in the eternally sustained perfection of their own life streams. That is light substance from their ascended master octave of life. This is why no one can be freed from the limitations, problems, and imperfection of his physical existence without understanding what and where the beloved mighty I Am presence is. The individual must know that before he can be free. And he must also call unto his presence, or highest self and soul, and the ascended masters, because their enfolding light rays are the power which draws the individual's life and its activities up into the perfection of the next octave of existence. Whew. That's quite the definition. Count Saint Germain was an enigmatic figure of the 1700s and other places you'll find, who achieved notoriety in European high society, attracting kings, playwrights, and followers. He was considered a mystic, philosopher, social influencer, and an ascended master. To some, the Count represented the second coming of Jesus Christ and a being who defied death, being reincarnated throughout the ages. Count Saint Germain's beginnings are as enigmatic as the life he lived. As I go through this, you'll see what I mean. Believed to have been born in 1710, many claim he was of Portuguese descent, perhaps from a Jewish family. Others tracked his birthplace to the Italian village of San Germano, which explains the name he was most commonly known as, Count Saint Germain. He was also known by other pseudonyms, including the Marquis de Montserrat, Comte Bellemare, Chevalier Chainling, Count Weldon, Comte Soltikoff, and Prince Rakoczy, son of Francis II Rakoczy of Transylvania. There's an interesting connection. What is known is that Saint Germain possessed great personal wealth and a wide-reaching knowledge, which included mastery of most European languages, the arts, music composition, and virtuosity as a violinist. It has been said of his musical ability he played as if he was an entire orchestra. Well-traveled among the aristocracy, Saint Germain, with his quick wit and intelligence, wielded great political influence, which also caused him to be seen as a provocateur. He liked poking people. Myths and speculations about Saint Germain began to be widespread in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when he was often referenced in theosophy. He is said by some to have been the founder of Freemasonry, which inspired several of the American founding fathers. Others say he may have written most of the works of Shakespeare, while simultaneously being the scientific genius known to history as Francis Bacon. In several New Age movements, he is identified as the avatar of the Age of Aquarius, and is considered to be an ascended master on a par with history's greatest spiritual teachers. Several contemporary groups in esoteric and New Age traditions honor Saint Germain as a Christ-like ascended master with paranormal powers, such as the ability to teleport, levitate, walk through walls, and influence people telepathically. During his life, he reportedly removed flaws from precious stones and created an elixir which prevented aging. He was ambidextrous and could compose simultaneously a letter with one hand and poetry with the other, or two identical pieces of writing with each hand. The Masons and Rosicrucians credit him with inspiring the founding fathers to draft the U.S. Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, as well as providing the design of the Great Seal of the United States. In New Age beliefs, Saint Germain is regarded as the cosmic master of the seventh ray, thus governing one of the 7 metaphysical principles that rule both individual souls and the unfolding of each astrological age. He is associated with the color violet, the jewel amethyst, and the Maltese cross. Since, according to Theosophy, the next astrological age, the age of Aquarius, will be governed by the seventh ray, or the ray of ceremonial order, Saint Germain is sometimes called the avatar of the age of Aquarius, whose current 2,150-year cycle began in the mid-20th century. Throughout his adult life, he deliberately concealed his actual name and origins, using a multitude of pseudonyms in the different places he visited. The Count gave 2 private musical performances in London in April and May 1749. On one such occasion, Lady Jemima York described how she was very much entertained by him or at him the whole time. I mean the oddness of his manner, which is impossible not to laugh at. Otherwise, you know, he's very sensible and well-bred in conversation, she said. She continued, he is an odd creature, and the more I see him, the more curious I am to know something about him. He is everything with everybody. He talks ingeniously with Mr. Ray, philosophy with Lord Willoughby, and is gallant with Miss York, Miss Carpenter, and all the young ladies. But the character and philosopher is what he seems to pretend to, and a good deal conceited of. I guess he was a bit full of himself. Walpole reports that Saint Germain spoke Italian and French with the greatest facility, though it was evident that neither was his language. He understood Polish and soon learned to understand English and talk a little. But Spanish or Portuguese seemed his natural language. Walpole concludes that the Count was a man of quality who had been in or designed for the church. He was too great a musician not to have been famous if he had not been a gentleman. Walpole describes the Count as pale, with extremely black hair and beard. He dressed magnificently and had several jewels, and was clearly receiving large remittances, but made no other figures. So he didn't have employment, shall we say. Saint Germain appeared in the French court around 1748. In 1749, he was employed by Louis XV for diplomatic missions. I like this part. A mime and English comedian known as Milord Gower impersonated Saint Germain in Paris salons. His stories were wilder than the real Count's, that he had advised Jesus, for example. Inevitably, hearsay of his routine got confused with the original. So some of these stories are because this mime would go to salons and entertain people, and people got confused about the reality and what this fellow was saying. Okay. The most enjoyable dinner I had was with Madame de Robert Gergy, who came with the famous adventure known by the name of Count Saint Germain. This individual, instead of eating, talked from the beginning of the meal to the end, and I followed his example in one respect, as I did not eat, but listened to him with the greatest attention. It may safely be said that as a conversationalist he was unequaled. Saint Germain gave himself out for a marvel and always aimed at exciting amazement, which he often succeeded in doing. He was a scholar, linguist, musician, and chemist, good-looking and a perfect ladies' man. He had contrived to gain the favor of Madame de Pompadour, who had spoken about him to the king, for whom he made a laboratory, in which the monarch tried to find a little pleasure or distraction by making dice. The king liked to make dice, so he built a laboratory for Count Saint Germain for the Count to assist him in this. The king had given him a suite of rooms at Chambord and 100,000 francs for the construction of a laboratory. And according to Saint Germain, the dyes discovered by the king would have a materially beneficial influence on the quality of French fabrics. This extraordinary man, intended by nature to be the king of impostors and quacks, would say in an easy and assured manner that he was 300 years old, that he knew the secret of universal medicine, that he possessed a mastery over nature, that he could melt diamonds, professing himself capable of forming out of 10 or 12 small diamonds one large one of the finest clarity without any loss of weight. All of this, he said, was a mere trifle to him. Notwithstanding his boastings, his barefaced lies, and his manifold eccentricities, I cannot say I found him offensive. In spite of my knowledge of what he was, and in spite of my own feelings, I thought him an astonishing man, and he always astonished me. In March of 1760, at the height of the 7 Years' War, Saint Germain traveled to The Hague. In Amsterdam, he stayed at the bankers Adrian and Thomas Hope and pretended he came to borrow money for Louis XV with diamonds as collateral. He became involved in the politics of the time, trying to negotiate an end to the war. Of the two books known to be attributed to Saint Germain is the untitled 18th century manuscript in the shape of a triangle. The two known copies of the triangular manuscript exist at The Hague, labeled Manuscript 209 and 210. Both currently reside in the Manly Palmer Hall collection of alchemical manuscripts at the Getty Research Library. Nick Koss decoded and translated this manuscript in 2011, and it was published as the Triangular Book of Saint Germain in 2015. Unlike the first work, it mentions Saint Germain directly as its originator. The book describes a magical ritual by which one can perform the most extraordinary feats that characterize the legend of Saint Germain, namely procurement of great wealth and extension of life. In various theosophical and post-theosophical teachings, the Count of Saint Germain is seen as a supernatural being called a master of the ancient wisdom or an ascended master who is responsible for ushering in the age of Aquarius. Saint Germain is associated with the color violet, the jewel amethyst, and the Maltese cross rendered in violet. He's also regarded as the Chohan of the seventh ray. In 1892, we're jumping centuries again, Helena Blavatsky characterized the Count of Saint Germain as the greatest Oriental adept Europe has ever seen in the last centuries. She said that he was one of her masters of wisdom and hinted that he had given her secret documents. The Theosophical Society, after Blavatsky's death, considered him to be a Mahatma, or master of ancient wisdom, or adept. You know what? I'm going to skip over some of this. There's a lot. Guy Ballard claimed that in August of 1930, he met the Count of Saint Germain on Mount Shasta in California. We're now ahead in 1930. Shortly thereafter, Ballard founded the I Am activity and later the Saint Germain Foundation to serve as its parent organization. The I Am movement originated the presentation of the Count as an ascended master, referred to simply as Saint Germain. There are 20 volumes in the Saint Germain series of books, which are also referred to as the Green Books. Another significant work, the Comte de Gabalis, is said to be from the hand of Sir Francis Bacon before he ascended and returned as Sanctus Germanus, or Saint Germain. First printed in 1670, the book includes a picture of the Polish writer, Rembrandt's famous painting at the Frick Collection in New York City, which is said to be of Sir Francis Bacon. As an ascended master, Saint Germain is believed to have many magical powers, such as the ability to teleport, levitate, walk through walls, and to inspire people by telepathy. Among others, Saint Germain is the god of freedom for this system of worlds. Ascended Master Saint Germain became the hierarch of the Age of Aquarius on July 1st, 1956, replacing the Ascended Master Jesus, who had been for almost 2,000 years the hierarch of the Age of Pisces. In the works of Alice Bailey, Saint Germain is called Master Rakosic, or Master R. Bailey likened Master Rakosi to the general manager for the carrying out of the plans of the Ascended Masters. Sorry, I'm getting a little wobbly here. In preparation for the return of Christ, Master R plays the role of the Lord of Civilization, and his task is the establishment of a new civilization. He is said to telepathically influence people who are seen by him as being instrumental in bringing about the new civilization of the Age of Aquarius. Sorry, I'm having some issues here. Once again, I'm going to have to sit down, I think. Penny, darling.
Do you want me to complete it?
If you wouldn't mind
Okay.
finishing reading this.
We're
I'm going to skip over to here.
and then this is the end of it right here.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, the purple text too. I like
Yes,
it.
because that's
All right.
quoted. That's quoted from his site.
Oh yes. About the violet flame, they say, by its use, any human being can free him or herself from his or her own human discord and imperfection of the past and present. Every human being uses energy and substance, waking and sleeping. Everyone is creating vibration and form through the individual consciousness every instant. The law of energy acts whether the individual be ignorant or wise, and no one ever escapes. The conscious use of the violet consuming flame is the only means life has provided by which any human being can free him or herself from their own discord and imperfection. This means to call to the mighty I Am presence to produce the violet flame and then visualize and feel the flame passing through the body and around it. This is the way the individual becomes free from the limitations and inharmony of earth and thus becomes the ascended master. The great eternal law was that every individual must purify his or her own creation by daily use of the violet consuming flame. It is not possible for anyone else to do it for them. Since they created their imperfections, so must they uncreate and purify them until all their being and world manifest perfection. Then they are free. And about the power of the words I am. Only the Son of God, which means the individual with free will, can decree as God decrees and say, I am. Whatever quality follows that sound, spoken into the ethers, becomes a manifestation in the world of substance, and thus becomes a form. When the individual says, I am, they are using the creative attribute of the Godhead and announcing creation at their particular point in the universe. The vibratory action of the word I am, either in thought or spoken word, is the release of the power of creation, and whatever quality follows that decree is instantly imposed upon the electronic substance in the ethers. This being the only substance and energy in existence, whose nature is to be qualified in some manner, it must outpicture the pattern within the decree. If the decree is always for perfection, then the experiences in the individual's world expresses the fullness of the plan of life. But if the individual does not send forth that decree, it is impossible for that perfection to outpicture in their experiences until the decree is released into the ethers in which they live. Every individual can think perfection at every instant if they only will, and it takes no more substance and energy to build beautiful, perfect forms and experiences than it does the imperfect. But if the individual wants this perfection expressed in their own world, they must use their own energy to utter the decree, which will release that perfection into them. Such is the law of his being, and nothing can change it. Okay?
That's another shot here. Thank you, Penny. The reason I talked about those two things, the consuming violet flame and the I am mantra, because those are the two things that most people know about the Count Saint Germain. So for the meditation today, I want to use the tools that Saint Germain has shared with us. But before we begin, I invite you to bring a situation into your mind, something that you fear something you wish to change? Thank you. I want this needs to be a personal situation or fear, not one about someone else, not one about the world in general, something you personally would like to release or change. Because we can only affect or change our own personal vibration. Though in doing so, we do encourage and make it easier for others to do the same. For example, think of a specific fear you may have about your life and hold that fear in your mind. And as we hold that fear so gently in our minds, we begin to slow our breathing and relax our bodies. Closing your eyes if that helps you to relax. Each breath allows you to feel more and more relaxed in this very safe and protected space. Continue breathing and notice how supported you feel by the chair beneath you. And just continue to relax and breathe more and more. As your body relaxes, your mind relaxes as well. And as you mentally step back from that feeling of fear, you notice that the fear is becoming less powerful and perhaps even a bit more interesting. From your place of safety and relaxation, you can examine this fear without feeling it. And while you're simply observing this fear, think of a symbol or a color or a sound that could represent this fear, and gently hold that image. Imagine that image floating in front of you. And when you feel sufficiently detached from the fear, mentally invite a violet-colored flame to surround this image, completely transforming it to ash, or even to glitter or flowers, or something beautiful. And notice the space in your body where that fear used to reside, and invite the image of the flame to gently enter that space, completely clearing all the remains and all the roots. And now consider how lovely this feels while you think of a way to declare your freedom from your fear, using the words of power. And declare, I am. Something like, I am always protected and safe. I am strong. I am loved. And repeat that mantra several times in your mind until you feel the truth of it. And we will sit in the silence while you fill that image with internal strength. I am strong. I am loved. I am safe. Always. It's time now for you to return to the presence with a feeling of freedom, strength, and lightness, knowing you can repeat this mantra at any time to remind yourself of your strength. Become more aware of your body again. Just move your fingers, move your toes, touch your nose if you'd like. And go ahead, open your eyes, and welcome back.